CBS 2 and WLNY. This is Breaking News.
I'm Cindy Hsu. We are interrupting regularly scheduled programming for an update on the deadly police ambush, a news conference being held right now at police headquarters. Let's listen in.
Brinsley, date of birth 10/31/86. He's a 28-year-old male. He has 15 prior arrests in Georgia for assorted crimes, misdemeanor assault, shoplifting, grand larceny, and gun possession. He has 4 arrests in the state of Ohio. Those Georgia arrests were from August 2004 to June 2013. He's arrested 4 times in the state of Ohio. That's from May of 09 to September of 09. And it's robbery and misdemeanor theft. His corrections data, he does a 2-year prison term in Georgia from August 2011 to July 2013. And that's for criminal possession of a weapon from what we can ascertain right now. He does stints in local jails in Fulton, Cobb, and DeKalb counties, 4-month, 30-day, and 8 months for various crimes. His social media investigations, what we're looking at right now, is Facebook, Instagram, Gmail, and 2 phones were recovered. If you remember in the investigation, he stole his girlfriend's phone. We have recovered that in and around Brooklyn and around Barclays Center. We're investigating that right now. We also have his private phone that were recovered in Baltimore County. All those are being investigated by the New York NYPD computer crimes. Most of his postings and rants are on the Instagram account. And what we're seeing from this right now is anger against the government. There is one where he burned the flag and made some statements. There's others with talks of anger at the police. He specifically mentions Michael Brown and Eric Garner. And other postings as well of self-despair, of anger at himself or where his life is right now. Right now we have no gang affiliation at all attributed to this man. He has no tattoos to suggest anything of it, and he has no religious statements that we found on Instagram at all, none whatsoever. Timeline of yesterday's events. At about 5:30 in the morning, he enters his girlfriend's apartment down in Owings Mill, Maryland, with a key he's not supposed to have. They have known each other for about a year, and they had since broken up. She is confronted by his ex-girlfriend, and an argument ensues. That ex-girlfriend calls her mother on her phone, and the mother overhears part of the argument. The phone is then hung up, and at about 5:50, calls come into 911 of shots fired at that location, of a single shot fired. Police arrive, and the ex-girlfriend identifies Brinsley as the shooter. And he takes her phone as well. You see that's the picture of the gentleman that we were able to recover from Georgia. At about 6:05 in the morning, he calls the mother on her phone, the girlfriend's mother on the phone, and he says he shot her by accident and that he hopes she lives. He then, at 6:35 hours, Baltimore County Police Department begins monitoring his movements, and they have him tracked going northbound on I-95. During this time, he calls his ex-girlfriend's mother several times and goes through, makes certain statements that we're able to find out where he's going. At about 10:50 in the morning, he arrives in New York City. Apparently, he took one of the Bolt buses to the west side. We have no video right now, but we're seeking it as well, or anybody who actually can see this male would help us out. We'd love to hear about it through the tips line. At 12:07 hours, he discards the phone that he takes in the Barclays Center. We later retrieved that during a canvass over that location. That's one of the things we're investigating. At about 1:30 in the afternoon to 2 o'clock, Baltimore County PD reaches out to the NYPD, and we start putting things in motion. They fax us a copy of events on this individual, and we start going through notifications process. Contemporaneous to that is when he commits the homicide of the 2 officers. All right. It should be noted that we're working very closely, still are, with the Baltimore County Police Department. They've been excellent partners in this investigation. We started doing some background on Mr. Brinsley. We spoke to both his parents and 2 of his sisters, as well as an ex-girlfriend. We're told by family members that he's never expressed any radicalization at all. This is a Muslim family. His mother goes on to state he had a very troubled childhood and was often violent. Mother expressed fear of him and she says she hasn't seen him in 1 month. Brinsley attempted suicide in the past and attempted to hang himself a year ago. We are currently tracking his movements for the past week in New York, and will continue to do so. It appears that he goes back and forth to New York. Right now, we don't have a residence for him. The residence in Florida that is listed is his sister down in, Georgia. He hasn't been there in 2 years, and he is estranged from her. I will tell you, he's also estranged from both of his sisters. The perpetrator's gun, which you see here, the Taurus, 9mm, is a PT-92 model. It was purchased at a pawn shop in Georgia in 1996. It is not recorded as stolen. It was purchased by a male who we have the identity of in 96. Apparently it wasn't him. He was 9 years old at the time. But we have that person's identification. We're working with the ATF right now to find him and find out where this could have fallen into his hands. Right now, presently, in our shooting in the 7-9, we have identified 10 eyewitnesses and 35 ear witnesses. To the suicide of Mr. Brinsley in the train station, we have 10 eyewitnesses as well and 1 ear witness. We have recovered 5 videos at the scene, 2 pre, 2 post, and 1 in the subway, none of which depict the incident, the homicide, the double homicide. We have found on one of our videos 2 males who spoke with the perpetrator just prior to the event. He begins the conversation with them. They start speaking, and he asked them 3 things. He asked them for their gang affiliation. He asked them to follow him on Instagram, and then he says, "Watch what I'm going to do." He then walks northbound on Tompkins, past the 2 officers in the car, circles back around, goes across the street, and comes up behind the officers. And that's where we are right now. Those individuals are at the 7-9 precinct. We're speaking to him now. We don't believe they had anything to do with anything, but we'll tap down on that further as we go forward.
So if we have any questions about the investigation, Chief will answer them, please.
Did he not release in any prior crimes?
No, that's being currently at the lab to check that right now. That's going to take some time, usually a couple of days. Sir.
New York, and do you know what he was doing here at the time that he was here? Is there any information about that?
Yeah, we have 2 incidents on UF-61s by family members made against him for minor incidents, aggravated harassment of that nature. He did eventually. He was born here in Brooklyn. He went to high school in New Jersey, and because he was had problems in his background, he was going back and forth to Georgia with relatives down there. Sir.
Chief, is there any indication when he was in New York that he went to any protests or down in any other place?
That's still under review right now. As I said earlier, we're looking back to see where he was in the week, because we do believe he was in New York earlier in the week, and he apparently takes this bus line to and from the south. So we have nothing on that yet, but that's still to be determined. 4 shots were fired at the officers. All the rounds are accounted for in the gun. It's a 15 load on the Taurus. 4 at the scene. We have shell casings right there. We have another shell casing on the subway platform, and another shell casing down in Baltimore where he shot his girlfriend. Sir. I'm sorry, say the last part again?
The Bolt bus. Did he take the bus from Maryland here, or did he drive up here and then get on the Bolt?
No, he took the Bolt bus from Maryland up here. And that's preliminary right now, just where we feel he was with the phone. We're trying to figure out which bus he took, and we'll go forward from there. We do have him on a video at 42nd Street and 8th Avenue getting on the N train.
Do you know roughly when he started expressing sentiments about her Michael Brown in his social media? Was it around the time the events happened, or was it sooner, closer to the incident?
We're still peeling this thing back, and I think right now we're in October and November on that. So as we go forward, we'll go back further and further.
Does he have a mother who lives in Brooklyn? Is that his connection to here?
He does.
Do you know when the last time he was in New York prior to yesterday?
Again, we're tracking that right now. I can't tell you. We're in Metro cards right now, which takes some time, take a couple of days to get that information. We did recover 2 Metro cards from his person on the subway, and we're delving into that right now.
Just follow up. Does he have also children with 2 different women in the Bronx and Brooklyn?
Yeah, the Bronx is his sister. That was in 2011. In Brooklyn, he has a child with a lady we spoke to already, and he's estranged from her.
Why he was in this area? Was it just a neighborhood he picked at random? Is there anything?
He has Brooklyn roots. He's got family here. I think his dad lives in New Jersey, but his mom lives in Brooklyn. So he has spent some time here, not a lot. All of his troubles seem to be in the South, in Georgia, and in Ohio for a short time. But that seems to be where he was staying with his other sister, which is down in Union City, Georgia, I believe. Yes. 2 phones. Yeah, we need warrants for that, and we're going into doing that right now in the process of acquiring that information now. They are iPhones, so we expect pictures.
Do you have any indication of why he was in Bed-Stuy specifically?
No, and it's a great question. The timeline was, we're trying to get his movements, and we can get most of his movements, but we have a gap from about 12:07 in the afternoon to the time of occurrence, which is 14:47 military time. It's about 2 hours and 40 minutes that we haven't accounted for yet. And that's going to be some video collection and appeal to the public if anybody's seen this individual up here. Now, we don't have a picture of what he was wearing. He was wearing a green type of varsity jacket with a red Indian logo up top here. So I put that out to the public. If anybody's seen him over in the Bed-Stuy area, we need to know that.
Chief, after he shot the 2 officers, he was pursued by other officers. Were they in the area? Did they witness this, or was this a non-community?
Again, we were able to identify 10 eyewitnesses to the account. 2 particularly courageous Con Ed workers saw the event and chased him in their truck. They then alerted, as they were driving westbound on Myrtle, alerted 2 officers from the 7-5 precinct that were involved in that detail, that anti-violence detail. They alerted the 7-5 officers, who then went down, pursued him down to the subway, is when he took his life.
When you say alerted, they just kind of shouted out at them?
Shouted out, waved, gun, that type of thing. Again, that's, can't thank those 2 individuals enough.
Do you know if he has any friends in Brooklyn or that he has been in contact with in any phone?
That's to be determined as well.
Aside from the 2 individuals he spoke to on the street, is there anyone else he told about his plans?
No, I think you saw the Instagram message. I think that went out about 12:20, I believe, perhaps maybe even before that. So that's the first time we've seen that.
But he was in Brooklyn already when that incident.
That's correct.
I know there's been talk that he was also posting to the girlfriend's Instagram account. Is this his or the girlfriend's, do you know?
It's his Instagram account. We feel right now he was accessing that account through her phone.
Oh, sorry. I was going to ask if, he said in 2011 that to a court that he had mental health issues. Is it your sense that, he committed this shooting, shot one time, then apologized for it, but then sort of at that point grabbed onto the, this was kind of a rampage shooting, he grabbed onto something that he could, build himself up with, or for lack of a better word, that this kind of grew in his mind over the course of those, 10 hours between...
David, I don't want to get too far into that. It would be a lot of conjecture on my part. So, yes, he did apologize to the mother. And that's really the only real act of violence we could find in his career. Not saying he didn't do anything before, but that's the only thing we find right now, so I can't speak to that.
I guess what I want to say is that, he only mentions Eric Garner in the hours before he commits this act. He has one flag burning before that. I mean, he's not a man who had a history of even really radicalization or any kinds of real political statements.
The only thing we can see, as I said on the Instagram, is where he rants, not so much the Facebook. And he makes some anti-government statements and some anti-police statements. That's all I have right now.
Just a couple more.
Is the operating premise for the motive at this moment that he was a man who latched onto a protest movement for his as the capstone of a murder, or is there evidence, or is the operational premise that he was activated in the protest movement prior? Not that you know that, but what's the operating theory?
You get pretty far down the road on me. Right now, obviously he was committed this act against the girlfriend, and put him on this path.
Going back to the events in Maryland, can you just go through that again? I'm just unclear. It was an ex-girlfriend, a current girlfriend?
Ex-girlfriend. They had known each other for about a year. He had a key to the apartment he shouldn't have had. He let himself in. She challenged him. And right now we're speaking to her now. She's been intubated. Right now, my detectives from the Major Case Squad are speaking with her right now. We'll get a fuller statement. She did tell responding officers that she identified Brinsley, that they had his phone. So that was, she did not want anything to do with him. And then that caused the argument.
Tom?
Chief, the information about suicide attempts, that comes from the family?
Mother.
And does he have any history of mental illness, treatment for mental illness?
She makes the statement that is undiagnosed, but apparently he had some issues as well, and that he may have been on meds later on in life, but that's where we are right now, but not early in life.
Just real quick, looking back at his history with the police department, has there been any determination that made by law enforcement or by officials that he has a mental history?
No, we just got that from his family. I have no reports of mental history yet from our investigation. That means that doesn't mean it won't come. But right now we queried Atlanta and Baltimore, and we have no information that he was taking any.
Have you guys seen this mention of him having a mental history that he made in a statement to prosecutors down in?
I don't have that yet. That's all I have is what's coming from family members.
Regarding the shooting, do you know? You said 4 shots. Is it 4 shots in total?
4 shots in total. Witnesses here 4 shots. We recovered 4 shell casings.
Officer Lou and Officer Ramos were where and how many times each?
I don't want to go into that. That's yes, there was. All bullets are accounted for. He fired 1 round in Baltimore, 4 at the officers, and 1 to himself.
Right, last 2 guys.
Can you talk about how when the call comes into the 7-0 precinct from Baltimore and the fax comes in, that's about 2:10 according to the Baltimore authorities?
No, that's inaccurate. The fax comes in at 14:47 hours, 14:46 hours. A minute later was the homicide. Now, they engage in conversation at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1400 hours. But the fax is not sent up until 14:47.
From the 7-0 in the real-time crime center?
You know what? We're still parsing that, still investigating that, so I don't want to go too far into it. But we believe the time frame was all genuine, and we were moving as fast as we can at that point. You know, the PC alluded to smartphones and putting things out. That's in the future. Right now, we're working in the present. So that's where we're going to go.
You said that he called the
But that's why I just want to finish the point. That's where we're going to go, but we're not there yet. And at this point, it would be unfair to characterize anybody as, being slow. This is where we're still figuring this thing out at that time.
Got him in the back there? All right, and then we're gonna have to let the chief go.
Was there possibly an Instagram post circulating around hundreds, if not thousands, of officers a half an hour before this happened of the actual post that he had? That's what nobody was sent that to the officers as like a prelim.
No.
Watch out.
Who discovered the family of the victim, the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend. I'll keep saying that, ex-girlfriend, discovered that just prior to the phone call and notified Baltimore County. That's where that came from. So no one in the police department had that prior to that conversation between Baltimore County and the precinct that they called.
Last one.
You said that he was speaking to the ex-girlfriend's mother, and did he mention anything about me or to her?
I'm not going to tell you what the conversations were, but he called her several times as he was fleeing the state.
In your report, can you tell us when about the deal?
Yeah, we have, again, that goes to the Metro courts. We'll figure that. We believe he was here earlier in the week, but that's still been undetermined yet as we go forward.
What was the troubled history he had as his childhood? What was the nature of it?
Violence.
Chief, where did you get with the victim of violence, or did we see perpetrators?
Again, we got some stuff from his family. I'd rather not go too far into that because it has to be developed as we go on.
Thank you. We're going to have to move on.
Thank you, guys.
We have been listening to an update on yesterday's deadly police ambush where we heard more details on shooting suspect Ishmael Brinsley and the shooting of his ex-girlfriend in Baltimore before he came to Bed-Stuy and shot 2 NYPD officers as they sat in their patrol car. We'll have more tonight on the news at 9 and on our sister station CBS 2 News at 11. I'm Cindy Hsu, live from the newsroom. We now return to regular programming.
From CBS 2 and WLNY, this has been Breaking News.